Hi everybody, welcome back for another lesson. I'm actually in the digital arts lab right now, which is kind of cool. You can see there's the inside lab. I'm over here in Friday Annex, and you can see I have a laptop and one of the bigger Sony projectors set up. And if I spin this, you can see what I'm projecting. I'm just projecting sort of some pattern imagery on the back wall. So today's lesson is going to involve talking about kind of the surfaces that you're projecting onto and experimenting with some different materials, because there's a lot of great materials out there that we can play with. Probably one of the easiest ones, I know a lot of you are talking about making like little boxes and stuff, foam core. This is the white foam core. I actually have a kind of a, if you look over here, I'll get you the angle on. I have a table set up with rulers, X-Acto blade, and some scrap foam core. You're welcome to it. Or you can go get your own and cut it at home. You can use a carpet cutter, but an X-Acto blade just does an amazing job. But, as we look at how this projection looks, you can do a lot of really fun stuff and get some beautiful imagery. As you can see, I'm just putting this right now kind of in the path of the projection. But it has a really luminous quality to it. It's amazing how bright and how well it can pick up just about any piece of imagery. And so if you want to construct a little three-dimensional space with this, you can get imagery to project on multiple walls inside the space, do some really fun stuff with it, especially using the After Effects lesson that I just showed you. Let me reload that real quick. There we go. So aside from that, we also have some really fun times with just white boxes. You already saw that in my last project. If you want to get three-dimensional, even if you don't have a white box, you can kind of put white paper onto a box and start to get some really fun three-dimensional work going and try to map it to the surfaces. So that's always kind of a good way to go. And inside here I have some foam as well. Styrofoam has a great kind of luminous quality to it. So as you start to play around with different shapes and forms, packing materials can become really great kind of three-dimensional surfaces. And they just glow in really interesting ways. It's kind of like the light goes into them and back out of them again. So don't forget all that styrofoam or packing for your last computer that you bought or a TV or anything like that. Now, the other big one we're going to look at is some fabric. So I'm going to pull some fabric over here. One of the classics people like to work with in projection mapping is spandex. Why? Because you can stretch it. As you can see, I can stretch this. I actually have tiny little holes cut in some of this material to make it even easier with a rope. And you can create all sorts of pattern work this way and kind of actually like fit them into a space, like between tree branches if you're outside, or in a doorway. You could make all sorts of fun things. Another type of material we can work with, this is actually a rubber material that they put under rugs so that your rug won't slip on a floor. It's a really awesome material. It picks up imagery really well. In a minute I'll show you, you can even see it from the back side, which is really cool. It has what's called reverse projection capabilities to it. And you can get this stuff in huge rolls for really big throw carpets that you have in your house. If you go over to Joann Fabric, you might find something like this. This is like a muslin material that might be part of like a wedding dress or a veil or something like that. As you can see me through the material as well, yet it still holds up kind of a ghostly version of the image. You'd be surprised at how well a semi-transparent piece of material will still pick up an image, even though you can see someone through it. So you'll see materials like this used in live performances, dancers all the time. And this stuff is really cheap by the yard. You can buy a ton of it for 10, 15 bucks at Joann Fabrics. Beyond that, funny enough, I used to do old school projection stuff wearing a Tyvek suit where I became part of the projection, like I was a character in the projection. Let me restart that animation real quick. There we go. So, if you want to become a part of it, you can buy these cheap Tyvek suits at Home Depot. Oh, I got that upside down at Home Depot. They even have, some of them come with like a little hood. So if you want to become a character in your projection mapping performance, you can have fun with that as well. and all sorts of different little scrap materials. I'm going to leave a bunch of these materials out on the table if anybody wants to come. These are actually silks, which are really cool, little scraps of silk. You can make little multi-layered installations, just hanging these from the ceiling in a space. There's more spandex strapping and things like that. And curtains, old curtains, believe it or not. These are kind of like a lacy style curtain. But amazing how well, again, it picks up the imagery. So you don't always have to project on a wall. You can project onto foam core, you can project onto styrofoam, you can pull out that old pair of curtains that your mom or grandma gave you. You can go to the thrift store or Goodwill and pick up some unique materials out there, or you can become part of your installation wearing a white suit. Now, I want to show you what these look like in reverse. There's a few more materials in here. I'm not going to pull every single one out right now. Some of them are similar to other ones I've already shown you. But I want you to see some sort of the quality of what these look like. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this over here. You're actually going to be looking into the projector now because I want you to see what it looks like when it's projected from behind. So, some of those materials we were talking about. This is how you can create a really cool installation space that maybe people don't actually have to see the projector. The projector can be hidden behind the screen. And so there's ways to set projectors up to do, even in the settings of the projector, to do a reverse projection without having to have a fancy computer to make it happen. So there's ways to flip that, and we'll take a look at that. If you have an image that needs to be flipped, this pattern work obviously does not need to be flipped. This is another one. This is reverse project. Now, you can see there's a hot spot in the middle where the projector's coming through on some of these, but it's amazing how much light transmits through the material itself. Before I run out, I'm going to back this guy up. There we go. Here's the spandex. Spandex illuminates really well with reverse projection. Obviously, this hasn't been focused at this focal length. It was focused to be focused on the wall, so it's a little blurry, but it transmits the imagery really well. And you don't really see the hot spot of the projector anymore behind it. It really mutes that. But obviously, you're not going to see me through the other side of it either in any kind of shape or form, right? You're not going to, other than my shadow. I even have some of that like spiderweb stuff from Halloween, which is coming up. You can stretch it between doorways and make it look like tops and spiderwebs. This stuff works really well for cool video installations when you're just experimenting and learning. And I think that's about it. I have a little bit more material here that's just sort of a thin polyester. This one's semi-transparent, which is kind of cool. So you can still kind of see me through it, but you can see how well it picks up an image from reverse. So many possibilities of what you can do when you start thinking about the materials that you're working with. I've used latex rubber as well from like white balloons, and you can order sheets of it as well. That stuff's really fun and stretchy. Unfortunately, I don't have any of that for you. But as you can see, I've got kind of a pile of materials set up there on the table next to the projector. So please do come in, experiment if you want, or play around with some of those materials you have at home. Try foam core, try paper. I mean, this is a roll of paper that we have here. Let's start this over again. Even paper can often be seen on the reverse side. And this is like really thick printer's paper. So maybe you want to put paper in a window and then project from the back side because it's easy to cut it and tape it into place. We even have wallpaper, old rolls of wallpaper, and you can still see the image through it. Plus you get kind of like a cool pattern on the back side of it, which is really neat, right? So that's kind of fun. So much stuff to play with. You can project on wood, you can project on all sorts of stuff out there. I think that's about it. We're going to talk about, in my next lesson, kind of filtering images as well, but you can also like cut shapes out of material and then project around it, like this star pattern out of this piece of paper here. And we'll talk more about that in the next lesson. But yeah, I just want you to consider some other materials, some other surfaces to project onto, experiment with the light, Make sure you focus it. Obviously on the Picos, you've got that little dial on the side. On this guy, there's actually a lens focus. One allows you to zoom and the other one allows you to focus. All right. That's all I have for you on this particular lesson. I hope that gets you thinking about the surfaces you're projecting on in a different way and gets you experimenting. All right, have fun.